Hey Ubers! Welcome to episode 2 of Color My Humpday. I have a really exciting card for you this week. I'm just going to get right into it, but it's full of color, and we're going to be using this Indie Bloom 6x6 paper pad from Basic Gray. That purple is a sheet that we're going to definitely use. I love this set. It's very colorful and very bohemian. And perfect for the person. We're going to be using this one also. It's going to be perfect for the person that I'm making it for. And I'll tell you a little bit about her at the end. Okay? So this is Basic Gray's Indie Bloom. And I think I'm going to be having to purchase some more of that. Perhaps the 12 by 12 sheets. So I'm going to be using this purple sheet, which is a dark purple and a lavender, and this small patterned multicolor sheet, and a solid coral. One thing that I've noticed that has been working for me is choosing a small pattern for my multicolored sheet. That way it's definitely not going to be overpowering in my card. So that's my third. And because they're from the same set, you can be sure they'll all coordinate. Okay, so I'm really excited about this next step. This is a plastic bag from my newspaper delivery. And it's this really wonderful texture. It's very fine, very thin, translucent, and it reminds me of the finest flower petals. So I've been saving these bags for weeks, and I'm really excited to finally be able to use them in a crafting project. So I'm folding it up, and I'm going to use Flower Layers number 5 Sizzix Bigz die, and I'm going to send this folded plastic bag in through my Sizzix Big Shot machine. And I'm going to roll it through a few times just to make sure it goes through all the layers. But it's very thin. These are very delicate. And I'm just so elated to be able to upcycle something that would normally end up in a landfill. I don't know if this is going to degrade, if this is the type of bag that degrades. But, you know, end up in our landfills or in our oceans. Get ingested by, you know, beautiful creatures in the ocean. So I'm just elated. So I'm pulling these flower petals off of my plate, and I'm going to be using 6 of the large petals. I'm setting those down carefully. They're very thin, so you just want to make sure you get them separated and you don't have 2 in one. And I'm going to be using 6 of the small petals to create my bloom, and that seems to be enough to create a nice full bloom. I'm going to be using Jenni Bowlin's acrylic paint daubers in Malted Milk and Chicken Feed to add some color to these petals. And while I'm doing that, I just want to tell you guys that I realize the videos I've been making at the get-go are relatively time-consuming. These cards are, you know, for special occasion and for someone you really care about. And if you're one of those crafters that loves, you know, to just take your time to make something beautiful, these are the kinds of cards for you. But this has become like a full-time job. So I promise the videos next week, however many I produce, will be easy, fast and easy. So here are my petals. I layered them on top of each other, the large ones on the bottom and the small ones on top. And I made sure the paint was on the bottom side. And I made this little X with some thread right in the center. And I cinched that in so that it makes my petals pop up, just like that. And this is, it is a very delicate flower. You want to be very careful while you're doing this. And I'm thinking actually you might even want to spray some fixative on there. I used some liquid pearls in this lavender lace color. Um, this is also time consuming. I put tiny little dots of the liquid pearls in the center of a piece of cardstock. And then I sprayed this Mr. Huey's Orchard color on top. I could have done those steps in reverse, but this was fine. So here's my bloom, and I'm very pleased with the way it came out. If you notice in the video, there's a nice little sheen to it. I used the chicken feed. I put that down first, and then I layered the malted milk on top. And then as a final touch, I put this Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist in Lemon Zest on top. And those Glimmer Mists, so far, that I've noticed, are very subtle. But it is a nice touch, but it's very subtle. And I think that's a big difference between the Mr. Huey's and the Tattered Angels Glimmer Mists. That one spray of that orchard colored that piece of cardstock. The liquid pearls are going to take a little while to get. It was very labor intensive to get them really tiny and separate, because if they end up touching, they're going to lose that rounded shape. So I want to stick a needle and thread in the center, just one stitch, as inconspicuous as possible. And I want to pull down tight on the back so that it pulls that center down into the bloom. And we just knot it on the bottom and snip that off. And there you go. It kind of reminds me of the tree peonies I lust over in the gardening catalogs that I get. So here's a 3.5 inch circle out of the purple and lavender. I used my Martha Stewart circle cutter for that. And I'm just using Concord Grape Distress ink from Holtz along the edges to darken them and make them pop just a little bit more off of my card. So I'm going to be cutting 3 strips of colored paper using this EK Success Edger punch. I believe it's called Moroccan Motifs. And those strips are 2 inches in depth. As you can see, this edger punch is very easy to use, sturdy, not at all rickety, and the feeling as you push down is smooth. I haven't tried out their 2-in-1 punches yet, but when I see a pattern that I absolutely have to have, I think I'll get one and try it out. Actually, I'm going to save all of these little swirlies for a confetti card. A shaker card I'm going to try my hand at some point soon. But so I cut strips of, 1 strip of each of those colors. This multicolored, the purple colored, and the coral. And I'm going to save that little strip that came off. Okay, so here's my card base. I believe it's 5 by 6.5 inches. And I adhered those strips to the top of a piece of coral that will nest inside. Because the paper is a 6 by 6 pad, there's actually a little bit of space left. So I'm going to use that little strip that was left over from my edger punch and put that on the side. I decided to darken the edges of my card a bit to make it pop even more off the cream colored card base. And one thing I'm noticing is that with the darker surface to work on, I don't have to be as careful with my my blender. It's a little bit easier. And you'll also notice that there's a little gap, but that doesn't really matter because I'm going to be covering that with my purple circle. So yes, that strip's going to go down right there, and it'll seem like the whole thing was done intentionally, but really what I'm trying to do is just fill up that extra space. So I was trying to decide whether to use that burlap that I love so much that I got from Michaels. I really love this ribbon. It's $1 for the roll, so I just went back and I stocked up on some more. I was deciding between that or this cream-colored satin that is from Offray. The satin might coordinate nicely with the perfect pearls, but I was noticing the values in my card, and a lot of these tones are mid-value, and I think that the dark brown will add a nice punch of a strong value to the card and bring the eye downward. So I'm going to put some snail along the edges. And just wrap that around. It's not doing what I want exactly because it's sort of like popping off the top and I want it to stay down. So I decided to actually pull the bottom back off and add a little bit more adhesive to the area that will be on the card front. So, you know, this is something that I think about when I make my cards. And I think it's useful to create something that's balanced, is to have a range of values from light to dark. And really, there wasn't anything very dark on this card before I added that burlap strip. And as you can see, I still struggle with my ATG. But practice makes perfect. And I'm going to adhere that down to my card base. I'm going to use, to fill in that gap, some Tombow Mono Multi glue to just get that last strip in there. And I'm intentionally placing the colors in the blue and purple end of the spectrum towards the bottom so that I don't have, just so I have a repeat of that kind of color towards the bottom of my card. And that's another reason to bring the eye downward. Okay. So oddly, well, here I am. I'm just going to cut off the edge of this circle. Oddly, with basic gray papers, I've been using a lot of circles. In my layouts with basic gray, I also use a lot of different circles, and I like to have them sort of get cut off by the edge of the page. And I had a great idea to add that little strip that I cut off to the right side of my card, the right bottom corner, as if these circles were part of a larger whole, as if this card front were cut out of something bigger. And it gives a sense of continuity. So I was really excited about having that idea. And that little piece is going to be popped up onto dimensionals too. So we're going to have a little guest appearance on the show today. It might be more exciting than the rest of the card making video. So that's Mabu with the deep voice, and that's Papusa! Papusa's going to help me make the card today. Hi, everybody! And today you get to meet Mabu also. That's my Cocker Spaniel, my goofy Spaniel. He's got big feet.
Okay.
I swear, sometimes I think something's wrong with me because I love my dogs so much. I could spend all day without talking to another soul and just be with my dogs and be perfectly happy. So the great thing about this burlap is there's a lot of space between the fibers. So when you actually knot it like this, it really very easily does what you want it to do. It notches in very nicely exactly where the knot is. And I think it's like my Michael's find. It's great. And I'm going to use the glossy accents to adhere the flower on top of that purple circle. Once that stuff is dry, it's a really good bind. I could have gotten out my hot glue gun, but I was too lazy. My craft room is a serious mess, and I can't find the things I need. So I'm using a stamp set that I got from Michael's, Recollections. It's very ornate font. And I was going to say woo-hoo right there, but I didn't plan well, and there's not enough space. So instead, I'm using Colorbox pigment ink in purple to put down the sentiment, you go. Like, you go, girl. But I hope it's not misinterpreted as you go, like, go away. I guess in retrospect, I could have said, go girl. That might have fit, but oh well. So I put down some clear embossing powder on top of the pigment ink. And I'm setting my heat tool on there, making sure not to get it close to my delicate flower, because I think it could sort of gnarl those edges of the petals. And with the embossing, you really get a nice sense of those curly cues on the font. And because my craft room is such a mess, I couldn't find both parts of my Stamp-A-Ma-Jig. Otherwise, I would have used it and been obsessive about getting the letters in exactly the right place. But, I mean, that's fine. But I would have preferred to use my Stamp-A-Ma-Jig. I just couldn't find it. So, you can see that yellowish bloom put atop that purple circle is a really nice combination. And you know that purple is opposite yellow on the color wheel, so they both really, when put next to each other, the yellow makes the purple pop, and the purple makes the yellow pop. You can see here how the embossing really makes those curly cues pop on the font. So I'm very pleased with what happened there. And I just want to tell you a little bit about who this card is going to. My friend and colleague that I worked with for, gosh, I think it was like maybe six years. Every day for 6 years, I taught a class to a bunch of mommies while she took care of the children. She was my child care worker. In the last year, she went and pursued a certificate in a program through another adult school, child care, I think it's a certificate in child development. And she did that in addition to working and volunteering at another child care center and being a mommy to 2 teenage daughters, which is quite an accomplishment. She's Brazilian, and I remember when I was depressed, which was for most of that time, I would just wear the most boring clothes you could possibly imagine, like beige, gray, black. And she would always come to school dressed in beautiful colors and really youthful styles. And so this card really, to me, matches her personality, and I'm so excited to be able to send it to her. This is a card of congratulations because I'm amazed at what she was able to accomplish. Um, I mean, her schedule was really full for quite a while. So, congratulations. Check me out on my blog, contadinak.wordpress.com, and subscribe there if you'd like. You can subscribe here on YouTube. I'm Contadina K, and I'll be coming out with card making tutorials pretty regularly. I promise next week the videos will be easy cards because I don't have time. I have other projects I need to be working on. And I want to give a little shout out to Tim Coffey, who I found on YouTube, and I also follow his blog because he really got me in the mindset of upcycling. Uh, Cereal boxes, just what have you, and making beautiful creations out of things that, normally go in the trash. So thanks, Tim, and hope to see you guys again very soon on YouTube. Please comment. Tell me what you're up to these days, craft-wise, dog-wise, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye.